and welcome to another episode of Baranov TV, designed to demystify the world of accounts and tax and to help your business grow. In today's episode, I'm with Andy Gibney from 3P Publishing, who is going to talk us through why you might want to think about writing a book to help position you or to position your business, the process involved, and the value that can come out of it. So, over to Andy. Hi, Andy.
Hello,
thanks very much for joining me.
Yep.
So we've talked briefly, obviously, before we started to video about why people might want to think about writing a book. So hit us with it, really.
Well, there's a couple of reasons. You've got to think that there's two strands that people write about. They're either novelists, fiction, or non-fiction. And you would think that most people within business only want to write a non-fiction, about to position themselves. But there are plenty of people who want to write their novel as well. So you've got to approach it in a different way. A novelist needs to sell as many books as possible in order to get return on their investment, in time and in money. And a non-fiction book is about positioning for their business and their speciality, if you like, if you're talking about accountancy.
Okay, so in terms of that positioning and the process involved, how do you work out what to write your book about, and where do you start? With a blank sheet of paper, it's quite daunting as a prospect.
Sure, always a book that hasn't been written. And you'd think they're all been written, right? And there's so many thousands of books written every year. But there's always an angle that you look at and you think, there isn't a book on this. Or you, as an individual, right? So as a business, you would say that I am an individual, I am unique, my approach to everything is unique. Whereas most people would see accountancy as accountants. Now we know that's not true, so what makes you unique, and then what would make your proposition of a book unique? So that's easy to say in a sentence, but if you're looking at a 140, 200 page book, which is anywhere from 22 to 40,000 words as a small book, how are you going to say that as the way that engages the reader? So the second part of that equation is, who would read this book and why would they read this book? And once you've got those two things, your initial idea and then who might be interested in it, then you start to make the plan. So you might plan 12 chapters, for example, and then from each chapter, you will then, as your headings, then you explain each part of it as you would. I mean, if you were talking at a dinner party, if accountants ever get invited to dinner parties, so if that was to happen and you went to something and someone was asking about your speciality, you wouldn't shut up for about 4 hours, would you? You'd just rattle on, and you'd have this conversation, and it would be a conversation because a monologue would be really dull. And as you do that, all these words come out. There's your book.
Okay, all right. And when you've got the book, most people when they write would just write as they potentially would speak in that conversation. So what happens at the end of that process to go from a conversation through to a finished book that you can actually make use of within a business?
Okay, well we set up a company to help people to publish their books. So there's a number of different ways to market. You can go traditional publisher, which is a favour and favour, a Random House or someone like that. That's quite difficult to get into, and especially with niche books, more difficult. The self-publishing route can be very, very successful. One of the great things about self-publishing is you get paid monthly on your sales, as opposed to, once or twice a year as you do with a traditional publisher. But it all depends about how many books you want to sell. But the part of it is we take that manuscript, that Word document, and we turn it into a book for you. So we'll do the editing, the proofreading, the layout of the book, the cover design, get your ISBNs, do the ebook version, because there's quite a few complicated things that need to be done. And unless you're really good at it, you're better off giving it to someone else, in the same way that I'm not good at accounts, so I give my books to my accountant and my bookkeeper.
Yeah, okay, so play to your strengths.
100%, yes. And take good advice from the publisher, whoever that is, whoever you decide to go with. Find someone you like to work with and you're not clashing heads with all the time, because that's just painful.
Yeah, okay. And when you've got that book and it's finished, what should you make, how can you make best use of it, I suppose?
Okay, well, if we're talking specifically about a non-fiction book where we're trying to establish yourself in your field, it is about, number one, you have become the author. So that's the authority, right? That's where the word comes from. So you become the authority on that niche. And that then means that you have that leverage to how you use it. Now, before the book comes out, you want to be thinking about the marketing about the book. So it might be setting up social media groups. It might be joining into LinkedIn conversations. It might be going to networking things, saying this book is coming out. Setting up a Facebook page for the book is a brilliant idea, perfect idea. Setting yourself up as Liz Baranov author is a good thing to do, as opposed to just Liz Baranov or however else you do it, so that people start to get the idea that it is your book and you have this authority about you. Now, once you start to do that, those marketing methods are imperative as well. So you have to think about how you would reach your audience normally, and you'll find that people then treat you differently because you've got a book. Because even though there are thousands of books written every year, people still recognise it's not easy. It's a relatively difficult thing to do for people who are not wordsmiths, for example.
Yeah, but I mean, when we were talking before, you were saying that, you know, obviously there are authors out there that have made really got the return on the effort involved.
Sure. Yeah, so again, that return can be in book sales, but normally it's in terms of this elaborate business card that you've got that says, now a lot of people give those books away. I mean, there was one guy who was in property businesses, and he leverages that by using that book to get people to come onto his property courses, and that's worked brilliantly. Yeah. And he has become the Amazon bestseller, but you should think way beyond the Amazon bestseller, because you don't have to sell many books to become an Amazon bestseller. So don't think that's that important. A Sunday Times bestseller, that's completely different. But in how you use it, it's about sending that market to your normal channels. So let's say you want to get, we were talking earlier about a dream client. Yeah. So if you were going to approach your dream client that you were trying to get, if you sent, let's say different people are sending them stuff, but if you send them the book, all of a sudden that person will have a perception about you that is greater than if you sent them a letter, for example. So it's the way other people perceive you as well as the marketing methods that you use. You know, I got into a company that was worth £2.5 billion that I'd never even heard of, that was local to me, who liked the title of one of my books. And you know, I got a nice speaking fee out of that, sold a bunch of books while I was there as well. But I only got it because of the book.
Right, okay. So I mean, I know that obviously you've got a vested interest from the publishing business.
Yes.
But from your perspective, writing a book for the right business can really pay dividends.
100%. Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, you have to treat it as a marketing piece.
Yeah.
If you're going to do non-fiction, if you're a novelist, if you've got that novel that's going around in the back of your head that you want to write, that's a different purpose. But if you really want to stand out, you know, become the category of one, you have to have a book that is niche and tells someone something they don't already know. Remember, if you just went on Amazon and went accounting books, you would find a lot of books. You'd find a lot of dull books as well. Yeah. So you have to find the book that's interesting and engaging. Roald Dahl said it best, I think. He said his greatest fear as an author is that when someone is reading their book, they get to a point and go, no, I don't think I'll bother, and they put it down. And you don't want your reader to do that. So writing a good book is far more important than writing a book.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, as Andy said, writing a good book is a really good marketing pillar. So, we know we have clients that have written books and put them to really good use within their business. So, if anyone's interested to know more, then please, as ever, do get in touch. Otherwise, I'll see you all very soon.